Are we on the screen yet? There we go. You look beautiful, Nick.
You do too, man.
You're so far away.
Should I come closer?
All right, hello everybody. Before we begin, it's important to remember that each day we open 3 gifts, our eyes and our computers, and today I'm grateful to present you with a 4th gift, a presentation by myself and Nick.
It's a real honor to be opening for Dieter Rams, documentary filmmaker Gary Hustwit.
The inventor of Helvetica. This is everything we're going to talk about today. Hope you can read fast. And some notes before we get into it. We have 2 hours of content, but only 20 minutes to deliver it, so I will be talking as fast as possible to give Nick the maximum amount of time to talk slow.
Appreciate that.
And if you think our slides are ugly, you are wrong, because both of us have won many awards, including this one that Nick designed himself for an event that he himself did not compete in. An award that I won in 5th grade for defeating a bunch of children in chess. And one more note before we get into it. If you're one of the millions of people watching this on YouTube right now and you can't hear the roars of laughter from the crowd, it is not because we are not funny. It is because the AI is actively suppressing it.
And to future generations, hundreds of years from now, watching on YouTube archive, we're sorry. We tried to stop them. They got too powerful too fast. Please forgive us.
And now for some introductions. I'm Devin.
And he's Nick.
And this is an image of us becoming one, because often I forget where I end and Nick begins.
We've only been working together for, 3.5 years? Mm-hmm. But in that time, I think we've actually worked physically together like 3, maybe 4 hours.
And as proof of that 4th and most recent hour, this is an image of us last night designing this entire deck, which is a lie, because Figma told us if we did not finish on April 25th, then they would lock us in Fig jail for all eternity.
Do you think we can smoke in here?
No,
Isn't this Europe?
not anymore.
That's right.
And, you know, while a lot of the work we're about to show you, so you can decide if you care about what we were saying, came directly out of the dark and twisted minds of Nick and I, we work at a big company, and we often collaborate with many of our friends and sometimes enemies. And I wanted to list their names here, but out of fear of forgetting someone, I decided to list no one and take all the credit. Nick, do you have a question for them?
I do. Raise your hand if you have any idea who we are or are familiar with our work. So the 4 people we brought with us. Excellent.
Incredible.
Excellent.
So this was our first collaboration, Stripe Press, a website that not only holds an array of gorgeous 3-dimensional books, but also podcasts and films.
I had recently learned to read, and Devin is he's still working on it. You're making good progress.
Ideas for progress. If you knew what Stripe Press was, that would have really banged. So speaking of books, our next project that we worked on together was fairly involved. It was a massive 400-word book for Port Charlie's Almanac.
Pages. 400 pages.
400 entire words were in this massive book with many chapters. And we wanted to take advantage of the web as a medium, so we built a lot of innovations into it, like a massive 3-dimensional balloon shaped like Charlie Munger that flies across the screen when you hit chapter 2. And while we were working on this, we thought we should probably let people know that this is coming out, maybe put an image online, maybe a short video, but that sounded too easy. And a better way to promote a website about a book was to make an entire other website about the book that was coming out. And what better way to promote that book about a website, about a book, than to blow it up on Scroll and reveal the announcement for our new and improved version that was coming out. And speaking of explosions, shortly after that, our next most recent, or semi-recent microsite was for a book called Boom, but contrary to the name, it was not about explosions, but it was about bubbles. A more important theme, however, was that a relatively small group of people with little to no accountability can accomplish great things in a short amount of time, which me, Nick, and our friend Travis in the audience took to heart as we made this from concept to execution in a single weekend.
Boom, now available from Stripe Press.
It's true. And arguably our most high-resolution slide in the entire deck is this website for the scaling era that came out recently, and the book will come out later this year. And it's a modern history of AI by Dorkesh. I should probably tell you all that. And the website started with a very simple idea, which is basically how many ways could we scale typography on a single website?
We've taken to calling these living covers. I don't know if it'll stick, but
Yeah,
I think
they're alive for now.
we're trying to come up with a reason to do it for every book we release now.
And we don't only work on stuff for Stripe Press. Occasionally we work on stuff outside in other parts of the company, like these websites for the past 3 years for Stripe Sessions, the enemy of config, that happened in the same building last week in San Francisco.
Did y'all see the Johnny Ive talk? How about that one?
Yeah,
You remind me of Johnny.
aluminium.
Wow. I can feel your love of humanity.
Definitely. And we didn't do these alone. We also collaborated with a lot of our friends, like I said, and 2 of those people are in the audience, 2 talented developers named Jay and Richard. And speaking of developers, Stripe not only employs many talented developers, much like themselves, but we're also for developers, which is why late last year we were tasked to create a website to showcase that love to the nation and the world. And I can say a lot about why all the art is generated with math, why there's a weird song playing right now over the speakers, why you could play Snake in the terminal, or how come there's a GeoCities mode or a footer that never ends. But instead of doing so, I highly recommend you go to the site and type help in the terminal so I don't have to. And sometimes our best work starts off as a joke. Like this website when the comms team came to us last year to project usage numbers for Stripe over the internet for the entirety of Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And we pitched them, maybe we just filmed a printer for the entire weekend and had that number print over and over until the paper filled the room as a slick way for me to not have to design anything. And then that evolved into a full machine, and all good machines have manuals. And since it's the web, why can't that manual also be a navigation? And contrary to what Nick said online, which none of you would know because you don't know who we are, it was not created in Flash. And to prove that, we had paid actors come onto the scene and pretend to repair it
Shout
throughout
out
the
Brandon Chang
broadcast.
for those page turns, man.
Hell yeah. And occasionally we work on stuff outside of Stripe out in culture, like this website for a mysterious album by the Wu-Tang Clan, to which I'm not allowed to say anything else about, so I'll be moving on. And occasionally we bring that culture back into the technology companies that all of us know and love, like this website for Pierre Computer Company, which, contrary to what you may be thinking, is a SaaS company that sells a product.
We might be breaking news here, but I think they're also a cigarette brand.
Yeah, it's true. And when I was making this slide, I was thinking like anything I could say about this site on the stage wouldn't really do it justice, so I encourage all of you to go to pierre.co yourself, scroll at least 7 times with your volume at full blast, and sign up for full enterprise seats for yourself and your entire team. And that brings us to our next section, the battle between art and commerce. It's an epic battle, much like the battle that Sylvester Stallone undertook in the movie Over the Top, where a truck driver arm wrestles for custody of his son. And you can't talk about commerce without also speaking about data. Everyone's constantly asking us, do your sites convert? Can you show us the data? Nicki Minaj is even consistently asking us to show her the data. So without further ado, I'm happy to oh no, hold on.
Oh God, it followed us.
Oh no, a cookie banner has materialized. Can someone please accept the terms?
So embarrassing.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Now we have all of your blood types, your phone numbers, your mother's maiden names. And without any more hesitation, we're excited to show you a series of charts and graphs that are 100% real to prove to you that we know what we're doing. Over the last 3 years, there's been a 400% increase in book websites at Stripe. Year over year, 1/3 machines have been streamed over the internet. Over 1 million pages of Poor Charlie's Almanac have been looked at online. While I cannot confirm that they have been read, I can assure you that they have been looked at.
I read them.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks. But Devin, how has it impacted the business?
You know what, Nick? I am so glad you asked, and the truth is, we have no fucking idea. In reality, maybe we do have some idea. Maybe we can pull some data from Google Analytics or Plausible. We can map website visits or CTA clicks to website signups or book purchases. But if any of you find people in the audience, take advice from us today, it would be to never believe the charts and graphs created by two guys to prove to you that their work is important. So instead of doing that ourselves, we're going to have other people do it for us. And I'm going to make Nick read it, because as he said earlier, I do not yet know how.
Yes, our boss said that his intuition is that more of Stripe's success than one would think is down to the fact that people like beautiful things, and for rational reasons. Because what does a beautiful thing like this slide that Devin designed tell you? It tells you that the person who made it really cared. And you can observe some superficial details, but probably they didn't only care about those and did everything else in a slapdash way. So if you care about infrastructure being holistically good, indexing on the superficial characteristics is not an irrational thing to do.
And if you don't want to take his word for it, the guy that signs our checks, you can take the word of an actual wizard.
A real wizard, yes. Humanity has been given the priceless gift of creativity, but it's vital that you understand how it works. Creativity is the essence of the human spirit and flowers best when it's unconstrained. If you try to control it for your own ends, you must learn that you get only what you ask for. The unexpected will not arise. You are not wizards. Scientific freedom is available from Stripe Press.
And you know what? If that quote wasn't good enough for you, what about Richard Hamming, the inventor of the ham sandwich?
If you are an engineer and you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing it. If you're a scientist and you know what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing it.
And you know what? If none of those quotes have convinced you, arguably the most famous person that we've collected a quote from, Nick Jones, might.
If you are an artist and you are doing what you should be doing, you shouldn't be doing it.
No, you should not. And now that we've talked about the present, we've shown you some of our work, it's time to take a journey back in time, 30 years in fact, to the world's first website, which existed in pure HTML. And its primary use was to share documents and data between scientific labs.
I think we peaked here.
I think you're right. But then some major innovations on the web took hold. CSS was invented, image maps, and it paved the way for such incredible websites of its time, like in 1996, Space Jam, the promotional website for the movie starring Bugs Bunny and Michael Jordan, one of whom I share a birthday with.
Films always led the way.
And then, Nick, do you mind taking this next section? I have to text Lindsay.
Yeah, typical. So for about a decade, Flash reigned, and creativity on the web really flourished. We didn't know what we were doing, but we were animating everything, every button, every menu, we had intros for our loaders, and we had loaders for our intros. And it was madness, but it was so much fun. Hey, man.
Oh, my bad.
Thanks. And then in 2007, McDonald's partnered with DreamWorks for the launch of Shrek 3. And dozens of us spent several months designing and programming, animating every page curl. We built Donkey Scrabble. We all kinds of games for Shrek and his friends in the browser. We don't do websites like this anymore, and there's part of me that misses it. Of course, it was ridiculous and probably shouldn't be recreated, but it was a lot of fun.
It was. And just when it got probably the most fun in 2007, that same year, Steve Jobs publicly executed Flash in front of a live studio audience, and with that, you can clap. He also executed Nick's entire career. But it wasn't all bad, because he invented cell phones. And we love mobile, especially when it's first.
Absolutely.
And we also had cool buttons, arguably the best buttons. A lot of creativity was still bursting on the web with leather textures, paper textures.
So gooey.
And unfortunately, the button police arrived. And they said, how dare you have creativity in your buttons? How are we expected to trust you when you're using so many different colors and border radiuses? Much like you should not trust either of us for using 15 shades of snot within the same presentation.
I love your slides, man. Emerson said that a foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. I don't know what it means, but I know that we used to go around doing audits of people's websites and saying, you know, you're using 7 different button styles, and like feeling very, smug, like we were helping them out.
And I would say maybe the first 1 to 10, 1,000 websites that look like this, maybe it was good. Maybe the user or the viewer had some familiar context. They knew where to look. They can get in and out of your website. And it was probably good for the businesses that did it. They saw a lot of upward ticks in conversions and website signups. But like any good thing, too much, and it led to a lot of sameness on the web. And the spot we're in today is if you work at a company, the larger it grows, the harder it is to convince them to take a risk, because if their competitors aren't doing so, then why would they?
Yeah, systems they're important and they work. They can go too far.
Yeah, it's crazy when you're on stage. You have no idea what the other person is saying.
I know, it really is just
Good thing we rehearsed. And like I said, the fine folks at Figma told us that we had to finalize this presentation on April 25th, so we built in backups in case we had better ideas. Nick, did we have another idea?
No.
Incredible. And that leads us into our next slide, our process. And I would never call any designer or engineer that showed you a perfect linear process from start to finish filled with check-ins and stakeholder reviews a liar or a crook or a thief. I would never do that.
You say that all the time.
Allegedly. But our process does not look like that. It looks a bit more like this. It's filled with twists and turns and wrestling matches, both with each other and for each other's work. But the most important component of this
Cool S's.
is to risk failure and let go of control.
Sort of like walking on stage with no speaker notes and figuring it out as we go.
It's true.
It takes a long time to make an old friend, but I think we've done a pretty good job in the 3.5 years we've worked together.
It's true. And don't let anyone ever tell you you can't do good work or collaborate over Zoom, because Nick and I have made every one of the terrible websites we showed you on Zoom over the past few years. And there's something comforting about knowing that I'm staring at the same screen as someone else across the country, much like we did when we created the first version of the Portrait's Almanac website by mapping the entire book onto its face to see if that would be a good idea or not. And now we embark upon the hero's journey. It involves ingredient gathering, some good and some bad. It also involves creating a narrative, both within the work and how you talk about it. It's also important to turn a boring brief into something interesting. Many people think our briefs start out as this exciting, really cool brief, bursting with creativity, but can be further than the truth. Most of our briefs kind of start off with a simple idea, something like make a website for developers, and can we show this number getting bigger over the course of a weekend? And then it's our job, basically. I think Nick was supposed to say something here, but I'm going to go for it for him. But it's our job to basically take that brief and push it to somewhere that's not only interesting for us, but the person that's looking at it, because why would we expect them to spend time on the website if we didn't have fun making it? And this slide here is about making quick decisions, at which point I'm going to skip it. And you also have to create conditions. And one that we actively try to create is our partnership and working together. And a lot of people that watch us work might think there's no shot they are working. They're hanging out, they're making jokes, they're sending skate videos back and forth. But I regret to inform you that often that hangout involves making a cool website together. And each skateboard video or joke that we send each other leads into the work and the final product.
We might be making a website right now.
I wish I knew what you said. And it's also important to create opportunities for each other and others. This is your slide.
Oh, yeah. Devin knows that my favorite movies are the Police Academy series. And so every now and then he lets me make mouth sounds, and then we put them on the website.
Yeah, and Nick thinks graphic designers only know how to make posters. So every website that we make, he's suggesting I either design it like or make a poster, and I'm sorry to admit that he is correct. And now, since we can't let Figma have all the fun, we are going to unveil our roadmap for the next 127 years of websites. First, we will use everything that came before us as ingredients. We will continue working with the fine folks at Stripe Press, both to make microsites, redesigns, and hopefully a website for the legendary Stewart brand. We will continue our quest to tell the story of the infinite history of technology and hopefully solve the mystery of what Alan Kay was doing with the chip. I unfortunately can't tell you about this one. I definitely can't tell you about this one, and I absolutely cannot tell you about this one.
No, but watch the Daytona 500 very closely.
It's a good race. And now for some takeaways, because as I said before, the fine folks at Figma not only said they would lock us in Fig jail if we didn't complete the deck on the 25th, but they also said that all talks had takeaways that were good. So instead of writing our own, we stole them from other people, like Claire Hughes Johnson that said, "Say the thing you cannot say." Some guy that worked on GTA 5 once said that some Easter eggs are only on there to mess with people and serve no other purpose. And Nick, did we have another quote?
Yeah.
I hope you all can read that. And now for some final notes. And now for some final notes.
I got this. I totally got this, man. Give me a second.
We didn't practice this part. There we go. The web started happening 30 years ago.
We've had 150 years to figure out what a great film is, but I don't think we have any idea what a great website is yet.
It's happening right now.
Our Citizen Kane, our Gone with the Wind, our Wizard of Oz, they haven't emerged. Certainly not our Tron or Toy Story. So that's up to us.
Yes. We need another couple decades to figure it out.
At least.
At least. We will not be taking questions. Thank you.